Hey YouTube world, it's Luke here from Gramophone, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the Bowers & Wilkins 704 S2. The 704 S2 slots almost directly in the middle of the Bowers & Wilkins range, and it's an example of how Bowers has taken some of their really highly developed tech and trickled it down into products across their entire offering. But before I get into it, make sure you subscribe to the Gramophone channel and click that bell notification icon so you won't miss out on any of our upcoming highlights, because a whole lot of cool stuff is coming. First and foremost, let's mention the cabinet and the role that it plays in making a good speaker. This is a three-way speaker that is built into a vented box cabinet, or what we might say is a ported speaker, or another way to put it is bass reflex. Either way, you do have a rear port on this speaker to the bottom and the back, allowing a little bit of extra bass frequency to be emphasized by the cabinet itself as the bass drivers travel backward from their forward stroke. Not only is it very well finished, but you're going to find something that is inert, it's got a solid weight to it. These are a bit heavy, but as with speakers, that's a good thing. And on the inside is going to be very well braced, and all the joints especially tight and well constructed. So now let's talk about the most functional components, the drivers. We're going to start at the top and work our way down. First up is the tweeter. In the 700 series, Bowers is using a decoupled carbon tweeter. Decoupled meaning that the way that this is built into the cabinet keeps it isolated so that you don't have any frequencies or vibrations from the tweeter leach into the cabinet or vice versa. And carbon being quite literal, the fact that the dome is made out of a hard carbon. And the reason that they're using that here is because it is a material so light yet so stiff and so hard that you can make a speaker driver that is nearly what we call pistonic in its motion. Rather that the whole thing moves as one solid unit with very little, if at all, any flex. When you start to get flexing in this dome, as frequencies pick up, that is when you start to experience distortion, and that's what any good speaker designer wants to avoid. Moving on to the mid-range, if you guys know Bowers products, you've definitely seen that before. That is the famous Continuum Midrange cone, which is another technology originally developed for the famous 800 series, and now it has found its way into its little brother, the 700. The Continuum cone is made from a blend of proprietary aramid fibers that's going to produce something that is not only absurdly strong in tensile strength, but is also really light and really stiff. Precisely what we need for a speaker, following the same logic as the tweeter, just in a larger driver that needs a couple different strengths since it's emphasizing different frequencies. That's a durable cone. Don't go punching it anytime soon, but it can hold up. Finally, we get to the bass drivers, and as you guys can see, there are two. Both of these are 5-inch units, just like the mid-range is 5-inch, but obviously, as you can see, very different looking. These are made out of an aerofoil material that actually has a variable thickness and density throughout different parts of the cone. Some parts of the bass spectrum versus others are a little bit better reproduced by a harder, faster, or lighter material depending on what we're talking about. And so this works by varying where that density is so that as you're naturally creating that sound wave, where you're going to be creating certain frequencies comes from that part of the driver that handles it best. And these are paired up with this cabinet design, as I mentioned earlier, that is ported at the rear using what Bowers calls the flow port, which is essentially, think like a golf ball pattern on the perimeter of the port, which helps to reduce turbulence of moving air, therefore cutting down on any of the negative artifacts that can be produced by a port, such as chuffing or that extra noise you don't want to hear. What we want coming out of that port is bass depth and no added color. And this whole system works in tandem together very, very well to make a relatively small looking speaker fill the room. These have a frequency response of 48 Hz to 28 kilohertz, so they're very wide range, and 48 is pretty good for a speaker of this size as far as bass frequencies go. They have an impedance of 8 ohms and a sensitivity of 88. They're not the most efficient speaker in the world, but they're by no means that difficult to drive, especially with an 8 ohm impedance. That means almost anything you plug them into can drive them stably, even a more entry-level AVR or receiver, if you will. And at 88 decibels, while you'd want a little bit of juice, as little as 50 watts can make these play back pretty well. Right around that ballpark of 100 watts, you're good. And to give you guys my impression of this speaker, Bowers & Wilkins is known for making a pretty highly detailed, if not maybe a little bit bright leading speaker, and I'd say that holds true for the 700s as well. They have rich detail, almost like pen sharp, in fact. Sometimes may be a touch fatiguing, but if you do care most about retrieving every little thing hidden in the mix, this is probably the speaker for you. Or if it is your preference to actually prefer something that leans a little bit bright, then this is definitely your speaker. This is a passive speaker, so this is going to be pretty straightforward. But what you should know is that this does feature 4 binding posts, so you can buy wire these if you so choose, or even buy amp these with 2 sets of cables and of course 2 amps. Generally, such things I don't necessarily recommend for a speaker like this, but if you want to do it, you can. And is there a benefit to it? With the right amps doing a bi-amp situation, might be. But either way, it's very easy to connect. The binding posts on here, if they're nice, high quality, very easy to manipulate, and have built-in bridges for even if we're not using bi-wire cable, which is probably going to be most of us. As far as what you can actually connect, they will accept bare wire, spades, and banana plugs, all just as easily as the next. As for the actual design of the speaker, you guys can see it's a very handsome speaker, especially in this high gloss black finish that I have it today. The contrast between the black bass driver, the silver of the Continuum cone, and the nice grille affixed to the tweeter looks really elegant on the front. Now, if you prefer a more reserved design, you can of course affix the magnetic grille very easily, and that's that. So depending whatever your tastes are, it's going to suit you well. Personally, I think it actually looks great without the grille. I think that the aesthetic here with the contrast between each of the drivers looks really cool. Between all that, you just get to see more of that lovely finish on the front face as well. And of course, look at some of the careful accents that are done on this cabinet as well, especially in the shiny silvery trim along each of the drivers, just further giving you that accent and coming all the way down to the plinth, even the nice look of the spike feet underneath. With clean, straight cut lines across all of the edges of the speaker. It's cut very well, very clean, and just makes for something that is very bold. Today I have with me the high gloss black, which looks really sharp, but they're also available in a very nice satin white, as well as a rose nut wood finish, which is kind of like a red cherry. And both the black and the rose nut will come with a black grille to match, and the satin white will come with a gray grille. For just under $3,000 for the pair, the Bowers & Wilkins 704 S2 are kind of the benchmark, or the poster child if you will, of the entire mid-fi domain. If you're looking for something that's going to give you maximum value for your dollar, this is a product that should be in the running. And if your taste in speakers is something that's going to be exceptionally detailed and maybe even a little bit bright, and that is your preference, definitely go give these a listen while you shop. And if you decide that this is the speaker for you, click that link down below so you can head on over to skybygramophone.com, where you can check out securely and have a brand new pair of these speakers shipped fast and free straight to your door. Also, please give us a call and stop by one of our showroom locations. You'll find us in Timonium, Columbia, and Gaithersburg, Maryland. We also have a beautiful kitchen design center in Hunt Valley. You can find us on social media too. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Houzz, Twitter, and even a few others. The links will be down below. If you need help coming up with project ideas, if you need to schedule a service request, or you'd just like to speak to one of our hi-fi home theater and interior design experts, get inspired at gramophone.com. Also, ask at gramophone.com should you have any questions about anything I've covered here on the channel and you would like to know more. Please give me a like if you enjoyed this video, drop a comment down below, tell us what you think, and subscribe to the Gramophone channel for all of your audio and home theater needs. And of course, I want to hear from you about this product. What do you think of the 704? Is the Bowers 700 series what you chose for your home? Thank you for watching. Be seeing.